Well, if you're looking for a nursing home for a loved one, you'll want to check out every aspect of the residence. And one thing to consider is the use of video monitoring equipment. They're known as granny cams.
Yeah, here with more this morning is aging expert Anthony Cirillo. Anthony, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Okay, what exactly is a granny cam?
Okay, so it's any kind of video device that is used to monitor the care of a loved one. Who knows? I could have a camera on my, button right now. You just don't know. We normally think about these in nursing and assisted living, where a family may want to monitor care, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But they're also being used in the home, where somebody might be a long-distance caregiver and wants to put some cameras in. We know how easy it is to get a hold of them. Just go online and you get them very cheaply. They might be looking to collect evidence. There's a lot of, unfortunately, abuse in home care and in senior care. So, and then, of course, families, you get the whole issue of whether they're putting them in a place legally or not. I'll give you an example when you might consider it. I mean, my mom was, when she was with us, she was in a rehab facility here locally, and I went in one day, and she wasn't there. The bed was all made up. The room was totally clean. What's your first thought?
I'm afraid that, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm afraid.
Exactly.
Fast.
Luckily, she was in another room. Okay. But would I have thought about a camera about that? Maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
So why more facilities using them?
Well, the facilities themselves are not necessarily wanting to use them. If they're using them, they're using them in common areas, and it's more to monitor staff, safety, and even as a training tool. It's more the families where this gets a little bit dicey.
Okay. What are some of the legal issues associated with this?
Well, certainly privacy rights. So,
yes.
You need consent. And what if mom or dad has dementia and doesn't give consent? But it's more than just consent in the home. It's consent when you're in a place of who, that world of who has to give that consent. There's also health, privacy laws. There's surveillance and wiretapping regulations and statutes that you might be violating. But I think the most important thing is if you have a camera in a facility and the staff know about it, it's going to actually hurt morale, and that's going to actually lead to lesser quality care.
I would imagine that this sounds like a good thing to be monitoring, but there's some unintended consequences of it.
Absolutely. So imagine the granddaughters or something are visiting, and they're talking amongst themselves, little idle chit-chat about what they've been doing, and it's captured on videotape. Maybe they don't want mom or dad to know a little bit about that, invading privacy. We've talked about sex in nursing homes and assisted living. It happens. And so, what do you do then? And then, of course, with this whole idea of the staff knowing, there could be staff retaliation, and you certainly don't want that.
Okay, so if a care home does allow the use of the cameras, are there guidelines, I assume there are, that people would need to follow?
Right. There's some states that have laws. North Carolina doesn't, and so the nursing homes or assisted living put it in their contracts. And so essentially it's this. If you're doing it, you have to have a consent of the facility, consent of the person in the room, consent of their roommate, because a lot of times you're sharing rooms. You need to bear all the expense of what that is. I mean, if you have a camera, you need Wi-Fi, so maybe you need a hotspot, those types of things. And you also need to post signs. So it needs to be very transparent. It's kind of the bottom line.
Well, there must be alternatives to going this far.
Yeah, so the thing is, you want to reduce senior isolation, you want to increase communication between staff, between the resident, between the family. And there's more and more ways to do this with technology. I'm working with a company right now that has an artificial intelligence Alexa-based device that can help caregivers and their family communicate with each other, as well as the nursing home staff communicate with the residents. They can also send people, messages via text privately about care for mom and dad. So there's ways to increase the communication, decrease the isolation. But here's what I'll say is that if you're thinking about doing this, first of all, do it transparently, not covertly. But if you're thinking about doing it, it might be a sign that mom or dad are in the wrong place.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. It is a controversial issue because of all the reasons that you just mentioned. As an aging expert, do you have a definitive answer where you fall on this issue, or does it just depend? I
think, I could say what I think, and I think you need to increase the quality of care and the transparency so that you don't need those types of things as an expert. As a family person, and again, back to my mom's situation, you get very emotional and you're in the moment, and if you're suspecting something's going on, your knee-jerk reaction is to might do it. So I think, I hate to say it, but it comes down to circumstances.
So
Okay.
should there be a meeting of the minds of everyone involved if you're going to go ahead and put a granny cam in?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you must do it transparently, and therefore you must talk to the nursing home administrators, the assisted living administrators. Where it gets the most press are when people are doing it covertly, people are getting caught, and rightly so, because there's been a lot of abuse caught and a lot of bad things that can happen. There's also great things that happen in nursing and assisted living. I want to make that point, too, because, you know, all the bad apples and the bad seeds get the most press. So you want to be as transparent as possible. It's the press picks up the ones where they've kind of been planted and they've caught something. So yes, I mean, we had family meetings after that incident with my mother.
Yeah.
We had a family meeting with the whole staff. And my mother was there and I was there and we talked about it. I wasn't, cameras were the furthest thing from my mind then, but it was something certainly if I had been more in tune with those being available, I might have thought about.
Well, definitely some good information for us. Anthony, thank you so much. Check out theagingexperience.com for more. Theagingexperience.com. Again, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.